Today I want to talk about picky eating, why it's a problem, and the times when it can be indicating an underlying medical issue. I'm Betsy Yelgren, registered dietitian and pediatric nutrition consultant. 50% of kids are considered to be picky eaters at some point in their life. It's one of the more common things I see in my practice, and it doesn't just indicate taste preferences. Picky eating is a problem for a lot of reasons. For one thing, it can cause a lot of stress to parents, and they worry about their kids, about growth and adequate intake. For the child, it can cause a lot of conflicts during meals, and that can be very unpleasant. And if left untreated over the long term, it can lead to many nutritional deficiencies and growth issues, and sometimes it's an indication of an underlying medical problem that's been dismissed instead of further explored. Picky eating gets to be a nutritional problem when kids are eliminating entire food groups. Each of the food groups has its own purpose and place in the diet and is needed for good health. Vegetables and meats are two of the most common food groups that kids eliminate when they're picky. Vegetables don't have a lot of flavor, and meats can be tough and chewy. Vegetables are really important for a variety of reasons. They provide phytonutrients, they provide antioxidants, vitamins, and fiber, and these things are important for immunity, fighting common colds and illnesses. They're important for wound healing, and they're good for your digestive tract to get the fiber and to keep your bowels moving. When kids avoid meats, they're missing out on protein, which is the most important building block for muscle and tissue. It's like the Legos for our bodies. Other things that are found in meat include iron, zinc, and vitamin B12. So when we take meat out of our diet, we have to make sure these kids are replacing it with some other form of protein. A lot of times kids aren't good milk drinkers, and when kids reject dairy, then they're going to be short on calcium, riboflavin, and vitamin D, and these are essential nutrients to bone growth and development. Fruits and grains aren't foods that kids typically reject. Fruits are naturally sweet, and kids have a tendency to prefer foods that are naturally sweet. So when I see kids who don't like fruit or who don't like fruit juices, or I see kids who don't like carbs, breads, pastas, easy to eat things, foods that are soft, foods that have a little sweetness or mildness to them, that raises a red flag for me. In order to really treat a problem, we really need to know what the cause is. When it comes to picky eating, there are really three primary categories that picky eaters fall into. That would include behavioral causes, sensory causes, and medical causes. Common reasons for behavioral picky eating can be kids with strong personalities or certain parenting styles that may be affecting the child and the parent's relationship between food and the environment at the mealtime. When picky eating is sensory in nature, these are the kids who tend to be sensitive to lots of things, such as tags in their clothes and loud noises. And this would generalize to food as well. They might be particularly sensitive to certain textures or flavors. So what are some of the triggers that might make somebody stop and think, oh, maybe we should look a little further into this and see if there's an underlying medical issue with this picky eater? Sometimes I see kids who are extremely slow eaters, and this can mean a lot of things, but it could be that it's uncomfortable for them to swallow, so they're keeping food in their mouth for a long time, or maybe they have some difficulties with chewing and some oral motor training needs to occur. Kids can also be picky eaters due to some GI issues. If they eat and they associate that with pain and discomfort, for example, reflux or gas or abdominal cramping, that may over time lead them to not enjoy eating and not have a good experience with food. And that can also cause picky eating. Kids who avoid fruit and fruit juices are another trigger for me that maybe something else is going on underlying. Fruit is naturally sweet, and kids tend to like things that are naturally sweet. But when they're avoiding fruits and fruit juices, that makes me think maybe something's going on. For example, fructose, the fruit sugar, can cause some intolerance and sensitivities for some kids, or it can contribute to some IBS. Some kids are small volume eaters. They'll eat, and they'll eat a good variety, but they never eat a really large amount at one time. And this is a complaint I hear from parents. They always say, it seems like my child eats like a bird. They never really get full. This can be an indication that maybe when they were younger, they had some reflux or something they learned caused some stomach irritation when they were full, and so they naturally over time learned to eat smaller volumes to keep themselves from feeling uncomfortable. One last thing that triggers me to think maybe there's an underlying cause of picky eating is when I see kids who don't eat our popular kid foods, things that contain a lot of wheat like chicken nuggets, pasta, bread products, because those foods contain gluten and they contain fructan. Sometimes when kids are avoiding them, that's an indication of an underlying GI issue going on in response to the fructan or the gluten. So that's also something that I would recommend exploring further. Whatever its cause, Picky eating is a problem with potentially serious consequences, but there's hope. In my practice, I see lots of kids with picky eating, and sometimes it isn't behavioral and it's medical. And once we're able to identify the cause of the problem and the discomfort, we can sort it out and eliminate it, and all of a sudden the kid's eating better and growing better. For more information about picky eating, including causes and treatment, check out the Feed to Succeed podcast with me and my co-host, Jen Caracosta. We have an entire season of talks and interviews with people who work with kids who have sensory, behavioral, and medical causes of picky eating. See the link below.